It's a fact that if you're alive today, you're dealing with stress. But did you know there are actually three different kinds of stress? Join me on today's show, where I got Dr. James to sit down and go through the three types of stress that we all have to deal with and learn how you can cope with it even better. Welcome, everybody. It's the Movement is Medicine show. I got Dr. James in the house. Dr. James, what is up?
What's going on, Barry? Thanks for having me.
Hey, man. Thanks for being here. And thanks for being willing to jump into today's topic, because I think it's a really powerful one, and it's all about stress, right? We all deal with it.
Everyone does. Everyone living today. It's a part of our human biology.
It's part of our, and there's good stress, bad stress, right? And we want to get into those distinctions between that today, but we're also going to talk a little bit about some of the stresses. It's not really good or bad. It's just stress we have to tolerate, because the fact of the matter is all kinds of things happen to us in our life, right? Some are good, some are intentional, some are negative and unintentional, and all of these different things can create different reactions for us physiologically, mentally, etc. So we're going to explore that a little bit today.
Absolutely. I think it's a good topic for everyone to listen to, and trying to figure out those good and bad kind of coping mechanisms as well. How you deal with them, how you handle it. I'm looking forward to diving into this.
Let's start off with the easy stuff, right? Because it's easy to start with the positive stressors. Let's start maybe with our conversation there. Just let's give some examples of kind of stuff that people can think of when they're thinking about positive stress, good stress, productive stress. What immediately comes to your mind?
What immediately comes to my mind for those positive stressors, where I think even if you think about the word stress, your mind goes to the the negative, right? It's how can stress be positive? But when you're working out, when you're choosing that every day, putting your body through a workout, getting your heart rate up, working out your muscles, that is a choice that you make that can have positive effects for your body. Cold water, immersion or therapy, cold showers, or if you're going to go jump into the sound, anything like that, it's you're getting out of your comfort zone. But again, that is your choice. And then there's all these positive benefits for that.
Right, exactly. And I even think about positive stressors like learning a new skill, or going to school or a class, or taking a course, or putting yourself in, say, new but uncomfortable social situations, or pushing yourself in a particular way, say at work or in your career. Those things, they're putting you in a state where it can be uncomfortable, but you can handle it. And ultimately, it's there to drive a positive impact in your life, right?
Yeah, it's not spilling over into other aspects of your life. You're not having that sense of anxiety or anything. You're choosing to challenge yourself. You're choosing to push yourself. Like you say, put yourself out there and kind of make yourself uncomfortable a little bit. But that's all so that you can grow.
Yeah, and this is a good concept, right? Because all of us when we think about the word stress, usually is a negative connotation. When we think about the word growth, it has a positive connotation. But the fact of the matter is, to grow oftentimes requires a fair amount of pain, challenge, discomfort.
Some blood, sweat, and tears.
Exactly, man. Yeah, totally. Especially, we know that's whether you have a physical goal and you say you want to, gain strength or speed or something, or whether you have a career goal, or whether you have a relationship goal, like you want to be a better dad, better mom, or whatever, you're trying to find that significant other for yourself. All of these things require growth to get ultimately what we want, and that can be uncomfortable, and those are positive stressors.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So let's talk about this in-between category, because rather than jump to just the negative or toxic stressors, let's talk about this category of stress that maybe falls in the middle, that we're calling tolerable stresses.
I think we just coined that. We might need to trademark it, but I like it.
I think so too. Yeah, exactly. We like to call these are tolerable stresses. So these are stressors that you can handle, but they're not necessarily things that you would choose. As examples,
like injury, something that happens to you. So it might be a choice to go do that, but then something negative happens. So say you're skiing, shout out Dr. Annie, and you blow your knee out. Playing rugby, shout out Dr. Lee, hurt your shoulder. So things that happen to you, but maybe it was that choice to go do something that you loved in the first place.
You might have been doing something that was a positive stressor, or even something that didn't even have stress. It was just it's a positive, cool thing. And yeah, something bad happens while you're doing that.
And then you're forced to pivot, so.
And now you have to deal with a lot of stuff, right? But it's something you can handle it. Maybe super uncomfortable. It may be psychologically or physiologically, mentally, emotionally, it might be very difficult. But it's not creating an overflow of negativity or spillover in your life.
I think that spillover is the big part, right? It's not affecting other areas, whether that's like work, relationships, family. It's not, you're not feeling trapped, which I think we're going to get into with those negative or toxic stressors. So those tolerable stressors, whether it be an injury that happened to you, a big project at work, some physical stressors, right? Now, we said working out is one of those positive stressors, but all of a sudden you're training for a marathon or an Ironman, trying to get that spot on the varsity squad, pushing yourself a little bit harder than, you thought possible, where you kind of break yourself down a little bit, but it's tolerable.
Yeah, and with tolerable stresses, I think one of the key things there is looking at ways that you can help mitigate some of that additional pressure you're putting on yourself, right? So there, it's looking at things like self-care, making sure you get adequate downtime, recovery, looking at from that emotional standpoint that, let's say you are dealing with something like an injury, that you're building a team of support professionals, of doctors, therapists, potentially.
Having that community.
Community, right? So it's like you don't have to do it alone, especially when you're in this tolerable stress situation where it's intense. That's where you're looking to, is there mentors, accountability buddies, therapists, that support structure to help you continue to be in that place and perform at a high level and continue to push yourself. That's our number one coping mechanism for a tolerable stress situation.
Definitely. And then there's others, like how else are you dealing with that stress in a good, positive way? It could be reading a book, having a creative outlet. So, say you're walled up with a shoulder injury or like a knee injury, but like you got 2 or 3 other good limbs. There's things that you can do, create, like play an instrument, if that is something that you have. If you're an artist, like draw a picture. Different ways that you can kind of take some of that negativity, some of that stuff that happened to you, and again, pivot. I like that word right now. Pivot and turn it into a positive. Cleaning the house, gardening, cooking, helping others, things like that.
Absolutely. It's that whole idea of moving out of that feeling of limitation and into the possibility. What can you do in order to move forward, right? So I think pivot's a good word. I think learning to see, well, if I can't do the things that I had been doing, or I'm in a very challenging situation and I need to dig deep, what are some other sources of inspiration, motivation, connection? Digging deep into your whys. Journaling can be a really powerful coping mechanism when you're dealing with a bunch of tolerable stressors, to really kind of tap into your deeper reasons of why you're doing it and to keep yourself going. Ultimately, in this category, you can do it. Don't feel like you need to do it alone. Get help to support you.
Yeah, I like that.
Now, the final types of stressors that we're going to talk about are the ones that I think immediately come to mind for most of us when we hear that word stress, and that is toxic stressors. So let's talk about some examples of what we would consider to be toxic stressors.
Those toxic stressors, I think the ones that we're going to hit on today are going to be like any kind of chronic pain. I mean, this is a health podcast, so like any kind of chronic pain that you may be having, whether it's low back pain, frozen shoulder, something like that you used to maybe just deal with, but now is affecting you day to day, and it's been months, years, and you're feeling trapped. You're not able to get out of that cycle, right? Yeah. And is ultimately spilling over into other aspects of your life now. And you may feel alone, and you just don't know how to ask for help or what exactly to do. And then you may be, feeling down on yourself and choosing some poor coping mechanisms to kind of just numb that feeling of feeling trapped.
Yeah, I think the key distinction here is we're looking at toxic stressors. It's moved past your ability to handle it, whether physiologically, mentally, emotionally, and it's creating real negativity in your life that you can actually see and point to. It might be like physically limited mobility or access, inability to do things you want to do, inability to feel emotions that you normally have felt in the past, like joy or happiness or connection. And then to your point, you'd be looking at lifestyle things and you say, wow, I've created coping mechanisms or built habits to help myself feel better, but those things are ultimately not really moving me out of a negative or toxic place.
No, they're just kind of keeping you there, right?
This could be, this could be too much social media, too much TV, Netflix. This could be
Overindulging
food.
in general.
Yeah,
like, right?
different,
Drinking.
rich foods, drinking too much, getting high all the time.
Yeah.
Just whatever
Trying to distract yourself.
numbing yourself.
Yep.
Totally. So this is one where clearly, the key thing is identifying that you are in a toxic stress situation.
Yep.
And then asking, what do you need to do to get help?
Yeah.
Because this is one for sure where oftentimes, we need help to get out of that place of being stuck and kind of trapped in whatever that cycle is.
And I think this turns back to like having that community or having those people that you trust in your life. And if it's gotten to that point where like you're feeling alone or you don't have that community present, reaching out, because those people are still there even though it might not seem like it. So whether you're in a poor relationship or in a negative workplace environment, like don't be afraid to ask for help. Or even if it's someone like totally out of your life, like getting that mental help, talking to a therapist or a licensed, trained professional.
Absolutely. I mean, I think about, so many of the, deep, dark places we find ourselves in as people and feeling so alone, feeling trapped, feeling stuck there. And oftentimes help is a phone call away. It's a text message away. It's an online booking away. We have people who come into the clinic who have been dealing with significant, chronic, debilitating pain for years and years and years. And have gone through numerous different specialists and treatment plans before they find their way here, and we're able to help them. And it's without question one of the things that we hear over and over again when someone's in that situation is, I wish I would have found you guys sooner.
Yep. And it's such a special feeling when we finally get to experience that and get to that place and get to help that patient out. And kind of circling back on pain, or whether it's like a chronic pain, like oftentimes pain is just not just physical as well. Like all this stress that we're talking about, that can play a role into what you're feeling physically and physiologically.
Totally. Yeah. And somebody, you might be listening and thinking, well, cool. I mean, I get it. That's all makes sense. You guys are sports doctors, but I'm hurting in other ways or whatever. But to your point, to Dr. James's point, when you come in to see us at head to toe, or whatever that issue is, typically it's mobility movement related, right? That gives us opportunity to kind of get into some of that dialogue. And one of the things that we really have done here is built also a community of providers, right? So if you're ever in the clinic and you're getting treatment and you're dealing with some other things, or you want some recommendations on trusted advisors that we have and trusted medical professionals we have within our network, we really do know some of the absolute best practitioners within our local area here who do phenomenal jobs in their specialties. And I think about some of the naturopaths we have and some of the a variety of different specialists that we know. So we can help you find that person too, point you in the right direction anyways, or at least into some resources. But at the end of the day, you're not alone, and there is a community waiting to help you find a solution for whatever that toxic stress is in your life.
Yes. Yeah. And I think, big keys here, just trying to identify those stressors in your life, whether they are positive, toxic, or tolerable, being able to distinguish where those lie within those kind of three categories, what you're doing to kind of work through them, and if you need to ask for a helping hand or not.
I 100% agree with that. And I would say, in addition, if you don't feel like you have enough positive stressors, it's a great time to add a couple of those in.
Heck yeah.
And at the same time, if you feel like you have too many tolerable, or some of those tolerable stresses are turning into toxic stressors, to James' point, that's where you want to get help and where you want to find some ways to support yourself in that goal. But we're here for you. If there's anything we can do, we love to serve, right? And we're absolutely equipped to help you get to a space physically where you're able to do the things you want to do. Until the next time, we'll see you on the Movement is Medicine show.